I'm Corey Ruffin. I liked what the jurors had to say. It was pretty funny. Being as I really like to rip on bad art, they had some great things to say, especially about the color polls, which I wish had been put up last year because I would have really enjoyed writing a song about the color polls in the musical I wrote. I like what they had to say about my piece. I've never really heard anyone from outside of Grand Rapids say anything about it, so I'm curious, without context, how it would play to an outsider. It generally seemed to. They took away the more ruthless elements from it. I feel of it as a little more human. I mean, it's ruthless, but I think there is some kindness. But yeah, I'm glad they enjoyed it. What a crazy experience.
My name is Larissa Uredi, and I was able and honored actually to have the chance to sit through and listen to the Why These Finalists discussion tonight. I think one of the things that really struck me was the honesty that the panelists seemed to bring, which I found really refreshing, both as a patron of arts, a supporter of arts, and as an artist myself. I think that quality is really lacking in a lot of art discussions, and that we get really caught up in making sure that everyone feels good and feels empowered about themselves, and that sometimes that reality that you need to be making intellectual, competent work is lost. So again, I really appreciated that Grand Rapids and that the community was able to find these particular panelists who were willing to state it kind of how it was, I feel. And that was just really extremely refreshing. So I look forward to tomorrow evening and look forward to ArtPrize as a whole. I think it is very key in getting people to look at art and to think critically about it. And I hope that this panelist discussion kind of helps get people to think a little bit more in depth about how they could approach next year's display, for example. So, thanks.
I'm Steve Charnley, and I was delighted with the panel tonight. It's wonderful at ArtPrize to be able to see how people from other parts of the country are noticing what's happening in Grand Rapids and the dialogue that happens about art, both good and indifferent. We currently live in Kalamazoo, but have always come to ArtPrize these years that it's been going on. We live near the Kalamazoo Institute of Art, and I appreciated the comment about how we need to foster a greater involvement in the arts. And if you can't get people into the museum, you need to get people to the art outside the museum, and then perhaps they'll come to the museum as a result after ArtPrize is over. It's just been a delight to be here tonight.
My name is Paddy Johnson. I am the founding editor of Art F City, and I was a panelist tonight. My experience for the last day, day and a half has been looking at art pretty much nonstop, and I think that's been a really incredible experience for me. I've seen an enormous amount of art, which is great, and I've seen a lot of people looking at art, which is really fantastic. The kinds of crowds that you get here to for people to look at art and think about art, regardless of the quality, I think is really extraordinary. And I do think that over the past few years, I was here 3 years ago, and this is my first return trip. I think we've seen a significant improvement in the finalists. So one thing I would really like to do is give a shout out both to the staff of ArtPrize, who seem to constantly be trying to figure out what is the best metric to use, what is the best way to get people involved with art and get them thinking about it, and the people at Grand Rapids who are constantly willing to think about art. And I think that says a lot about the community here, and I think the potential for growth and for art here.
My name is Miranda Lash. I'm curator of contemporary art at the Speed Art Museum. I'm very glad I came to Grand Rapids for ArtPrize. It's been extremely educational for me to see this radical process of relying on the participation of the public in terms of choosing art. As a museum professional, it's thrilling and terrifying to see what will come out of that. Some of the pieces, as you saw from our panel discussion, I loved, some of which I detested. But to learn about the complications involved, I thought was highly educational. I think all museum professionals should come see this event. And I will say I have hope for the possibility of settling on artworks that can be both attractive to the public and provocative for critics. There were certainly some that demonstrated that overlap, and so I think that's a great thing.
Were there any pieces that the public chose that you thought the jurors should have?
You know, I'd have to see the list.
Okay.
Actually, yes, there was one piece, Urban Tumbleweed, that was a time-based artwork that the public selected that was not a critic's choice. But actually, all three of us tonight, which spoke tonight, we all loved the piece. We thought the video was actually quite well executed. You really were rooting for that tumbleweed and sort of had this, you know, charming, pathetic quality to it. So I would have loved to have seen that in the mix.
Wanda Aikens, and I surprisingly agreed. I am an artist, but I appreciate the public response to art. And I appreciated also what a lot of these critics said. I thought they were right on a lot of things. Last year there was a little bit more controversy because there were audience questions, which I thought was good. Because, like I say, I appreciate the public response to art, being an artist.
I'm Michael Cain. I'm actually a filmmaker from Dallas, Texas, who's just here checking out ArtPrize. And, you know, actually, I really enjoyed the process because to acknowledge the tension that exists between artists, the people who critique them, both the public and the professional, I think it's a really interesting play because everyone avoids the elephant in the room. And what I enjoyed about the show tonight is it made me want to now go see these pieces that I haven't seen. I've seen a few of them. For one thing, the musical. Like I have to go see the musical now. And just I love the fact that, you know, it worked the show, it worked ArtPrize into a creative piece, and then now it's something that can be critiqued. So it's like flipping the process. But I love the honesty. I thought that particularly, and I don't know her name, but the one woman in the middle who was very opinionated and would state that she didn't like the piece, you know, that's refreshing. And the fact that also the jurors loved pieces. And you know, I want to see the intersection between the two to find out particularly which pieces now the jurors and the public are responding to. I'm really looking forward to the next 2 days. I've got a full task list ahead of me.
My name is Scott Stulen. I'm the curator of audience experience and performance at the Indianapolis Museum of Art. And it was really interesting and fun being on the panel today. I think also going around Grand Rapids, seeing all of the work, you know, seeing a real diverse array of work, and then having, I think, the pleasure with Paddy and Miranda of talking amongst each other throughout those 2 days and kind of getting these discussions kind of started and then sharing basically that discussion with an audience tonight. So I hope that, you know, from this, that artists kind of have some things that they can take away from it and know that, you know, all the expert opinion isn't unified too. Like we disagreed with a lot of things that the experts came in and picked, and we also agreed with a lot of things too. But I think knowing that, you know, all of it is somewhat of an opinion, and I think that's good for people to kind of, you know, take away hopefully from this panel. I think it was also interesting to kind of see the mechanisms around ArtPrize and also how artists are kind of like playing the game a little bit too. So I think how they're pitching their pieces, and at times I think artists not even realizing that they are part of the piece when they're doing that. It's hard to separate those things. So I think that was something that I hope kind of came out, you know, from this as well, as maybe some artists taking note of that. And I think lastly too is it was fun to find a few gems that were kind of hidden away that I'm not sure we would have found without going through this process, the tumbleweed piece being one of those. And I think the one thing that I tried to do at the end that I wanted to kind of get in, and then I wanted to say too much and froze up, but I wanted to give a shout out for a piece that wasn't in part of any of these, but Scott Hawking's piece over at Site Lab, The Secret of Nature, I really, really love. So that's my vote. Thumbs up.